Hi everyone. So today's agenda is developing a custom lookup field using Aura Lightning. And in that field, when I select a particular record, I should be getting its name and ID in the backend. So that is what we are going to see. Here is a brief introduction of what we are going to do. So I have created this custom lookup field. I'm going to search for some alphabets or words. And as you can see here, let's say we go with this. So we can see two accounts over here. So this is basically account lookup. Now, the moment I select this one, I can see the name of this particular account and I can see the ID of this particular account. So that is our aim. So let's get started. So first of all, what we are doing is we have created a class called get records class. Within that, we have a method called get results. Now I've created this as a very generic method such that you will be able to pass any object and its field name for which you need to do the lookup. So in my use case scenario right now, I'm only going to find out the account records. But in case if tomorrow I want to find out, let's say, user records or contact record, I can use the same method. Now for this, first of all, what I have done is I've created a wrapper class. Here it is, S object result. Now in that wrapper class, I have two properties. One is record name and one is record ID. Okay. Now in the constructor of this wrapper class, I'm just passing two parameters and taking those two parameters and passing it to these two properties of the wrapper class. That's all that I've done. Now the return type of this method that I have is the wrapper class is of wrapper class type. List of wrapper class type, I should say. So yeah, that's how it returns. Now I'm creating a dynamic query here and I'm saying that select ID name from so and so object where so and so field is like so and so value, which we are going to pass from our Aura component. Now the result of this dynamic query would also be a generic S object, right? So I've written S object SO and then I'm iterating through it. Now, every time that I'm iterating, I'm getting the field value as in the name. Now, because it's directly we're not given as name, right? It's a parameter. So I'll say SO dot get and the parameter name. And that will be accumulated in field value. Now, because I'm going to pass a list of this wrapper type, I'm going to add each wrapper object record. So I'm creating a wrapper object record. In the field value, I'm adding this string that I'm getting. An ID I can get directly. So I'd be like SO dot ID. Okay. And yeah, so that's about it. And we are returning this list. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to create a lightning component. So that's what I've done. I've created a lightning component named lookup CMP. In that, I've introduced the controller. Now, controller is that Apex class that I showed you, wherein we are getting the results of some object. Okay. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create the lightning input field, which we are going to use to look up some record. So here I go. Okay. So here I go with that. Now you see some attributes here, right? Now this attribute is, the first attribute that you see here is label, v dot label, right? And then v dot selected record name. So let me tell you why have we used it. And let me also declare it. So label is like, what would be the label of this input field? let's make it account name. Okay. Selected record name. Let's also create one more variable. Selected record ID. So select record name, what will it do is, in the lookup, I have, let's say, so let me go here and explain you. So here when I'm searching, I'm getting multiple records, right? But when I select a particular record, I'm able to see the name of that record, and in the backend, like I told you, I'm able to see the ID. So the name that I am selecting, I'm going to store it in select record name, and the ID that for the selected record will be stored in the select record ID attribute. Okay. Now, the next attribute is display list. Now, what is that? So you will notice one thing when I write some alphabets and I select that. The moment I've selected, that entire list that you see got disappeared, right? So showing that list or hiding it is something that we are going to control with this Boolean variable called display list. So that's why I have a Boolean attribute called display list. Now next is search records. Search records will store all the list of account records or the wrapper class records that we are getting, right? From the so search records will store all the records that we are going to get from this get records class. It's going to be passed in the form of this wrapper class list, right? So that is what we are going to get in the search records attribute. Now let's start. Okay. So now here what we are doing is Aura ID I've named as user input for this lightning input field. Label I've given as label. Now what is the label? It's this variable, right? And the default value for it is account name. Tomorrow, let's say you want to make it contact name, you can just come and change the contact name over here, and here it would display as the contact name as the name of the field. Name is equals to search text. The moment we change something, as in the moment I type one letters, right, things gets changed. So the moment we change it, this method will get fired, and the selected record name will get stored here. So let me go to the controller now. Let's create our first method, which is search field. Okay, so now what am I going to do is, on change, we are firing the search field method. So here is the search field method. Now, when we on change event gets fired, I'm saying that event.getSource.get v.value. So whatever value is there over here, right, in this one, in this field, I mean, that will come over here. So I have displayed it also just to show you. Then what am I doing is component.get c.get results, as in I'm calling this method of, get results method of this particular component. I'm calling the method. Now, what all parameters do I have to pass? I have taken 3 parameters: object name, field name, and value. So what am I doing? I'm passing all those 3 here. Current text is the value, like I told you. Here we got the value from the on change event. And then we are calling that method, and we are getting the response.get return value. and we are storing the return value in search records. Okay. Only we are doing this much. Now we've created a component, a new component. So let's create a tab for that component. This is the name. Let me say lookup account. And let me refresh. So I'll open lookup account now. So here you will see that I've created a lookup field. Till now, we have not done anything else. That's why you do not see the list of the records. But here in the console.log, I've also displayed it, right? So here you can see what have I done. Let me show you in the console.log first. So I am displaying the response.getReturnValue. And what am I getting in return? I'm getting list of all the records. So I'm displaying that. The label that I've used is triple slash. So triple slash is this label. And this is the value. So I've got these many records. Okay. So almost 9 records which are getting displayed in the console.log. So this was our first step. Now the next and the main step is that we need to have that drop down kind of a thing where we should be able to see all those accounts, right? So let's go towards that now. So now because we want the drop down of all the records, what are we going to do is we are going to put an iteration over here. Okay. Now in iteration, what are we going to display? All the records that we got. So I'm going to say items equals to all the records, and then I have to iterate through each record. So each record in that loop I'll call as SE record. Okay, and this is simply the index where that I have named. Now the next thing is I'll add a div tag inside this, which will actually display the value. Okay. So what have I done here is in that div tag, the ID that I have would be equal to the current record or the current iterations record dot record ID. Now, why have I named it as record ID is because here, if you noticed in my wrapper class, the name for the ID property that I had named was rec ID. So I can directly use the rec ID over here. Now for the record name, again going to that wrapper class and the property name was rec name. So that's why I've given the data name as rec name. Now on click, what should it do is it should set the selected record. Okay, like it should call this method called set selected record. But before that, I have not displayed anything, right? So let me display. So I'm going to display each record's name. So here what am I doing is I'm displaying the account's name over here. Okay. And I'm going to save it. And for now, we are not doing anything on the on click. Let's just see what happens here. So here you can see, right? We are now able to see the entire drop down, right? but it's looking very weird. So let's apply some styling to it. Okay. So what are we going to do for that is we have a SLDS styling. So first, what am I going to do is I'm going to add a div tag around this iteration. Okay, and let me save it. Let me refresh. Now you see, we've got this div. So let me write SO. So now we see it this way. But still, the styling that we were able to see in the previous example that I showed you was quite well organized. So what are we missing is, I'll use the UL tag after div and before iteration. This has a styling wherein each element would appear in a particular list box. Okay, so let me refresh. Still, there is a little bit of gap in the design. So in the div where we are actually displaying it, right? I'm going to add some more styling to it. You guys can copy this if you want. Let it get saved. Okay, it's saved now. Let's refresh. Now you see it's more organized. So I'll be pasting this code in the code's link in the description, and you guys can copy paste the code from there. So this is about styling. Now coming back to this one, the method which will get called when I click on a record like this. Right now, see, when I'm trying to click, nothing is happening, right? So when I want this record to get selected and I want to get its ID and name on the backend, what do I do now? So let's declare this method here, a comma. Okay. Then next, what are we going to do is, let's get the current records ID. Now, how do we get that? So here you will notice that in this div tag, when I'm clicking on click event, I'm calling this method, right? Set selected record. Now for that div tag, what is the ID? It's the current records ID, right? So now because I'll use event.currentTarget.id, it will get me whatever value is over here in the controller. Okay. And next is this one, variable name val. Now this would give me event.currentTarget, which is again the same field. But this time, instead of getting the ID, I'm getting dataset.name. This is the syntax. So here we have data name, right? So whatever value is there over here will get displayed here. So Let me actually show you what I'm trying to say. Let's hard code some value. You will understand. ABC. And let's have the ID also hard coded. Let's say 1, 2, 3. Okay, and let me save it. And let me save this also. So when the set selected record, we are showing the ID and we are showing the name val. Name val is nothing but dataset.name. Now here I've hard coded the ID as 1, 2, 3 and data name as ABC. This is I'm just trying to show you that whatever value is present over here will be achieved by using event.currentTarget.id and event.currentTarget.dataset.name. This is the syntax. Okay. So let me go here. Let me refresh. Let's inspect. And let's open console.log. Okay, let me write SO here now. Let's see, let's click on this one. So now you will see the current text is 1, 2, 3 and name val is ABC. That is because that's what we had written over here, right? So this was just to show. Now let's put its original values. Let me save. Okay. Now going here. Let's write some value. Let's say I'm selecting this account. So you can see in the backend, we are getting the ID of that account and we are getting the name of that account. But there is one more thing which you could see. Even when I selected, this account did not get selected over here and neither did this display list get, this list get disappeared. So ideally what should happen is when I choose this, that name should get displayed over here and this list should disappear. So that is what we are doing next. Now, because we want to select this value here, you would remember that in that lightning input field that we created, right? We had something called as select record name. So the moment we click on one of the records, and what I mean to say is when this method gets called, that's when I'm going to set the value of the current record that I've clicked on into this variable. So how will I do that is same like in that set selected record method that got called on clicking a value. I've already got the name of the account, right? So what am I going to do is simply component dot set p dot, what was the name? Oh, sorry. Select record name. And what value am I going to put? This one, name val, right? And for the selected record ID that I told you guys when we had declared it over here, I'm going to put select record ID and that we have stored in the current text, right? So just current text and let's save it. Apart from that, one more thing, like I told you, the moment we select this list should get disappeared, right? So for that, what are we going to do is this display list Boolean attribute that we had declared, let's make it false. The moment you select something, that list should get disappeared. So I would say display list is false. Now just making this false won't help, right? We need to have the aura if condition. So I'm going to say that only if display list is true, only then display that list of records, right? If it is false, then do not show. So what am I going to do is, again, the first time ever that we enter this page, right, we need the list to be displayed, correct? So I would say I would make a init method, and in do init, what am I going to do is I'm going to make the display list as true. As simple as that. So going here, first I'll create a do init method. All that I've done in it is display list. I'm making it as true. So I've saved it. Let's see now what happens. Coming here and refresh. So here you see in the init itself, I made that display list as true. That's why you could see this. Now let me write this. So now you see this, right? Now let us select a record. Let's say we select this record. So you see that record's name got displayed over here and the list got disappeared. But let's say I remove it and rewrite it. Now you don't see the list, which is a glitch, no? It should actually display when you again change some value. So let's add one more thing here to complete this exercise, which is so what is this? We have added a change handler, and change handler will fire when the select record name gets changed. Now, what is select record name? The record that we have selected, its name, whenever that gets changed, we are calling the items change method. So let's create an item change method. In that method, what I'm simply doing is I am checking that the select record name is not equal to blank. Then display list becomes true. It means whenever I'm entering something and it is not blank, that's when I have to get the list back. So that's it that I've done here. I'm saying that if component.get select record name is not equal to blank, then I'm displaying the list. So I go here, I refresh. Let's enter one record. Now, see, again, I removed it, so there is a change. But because it's blank, this condition is not getting met. But let's say if I enter something again, it's still not displaying. Just give me 1 minute, please. Hmm. So I found the issue actually that was not the correct way to do it. So what I did is that change handler that I told you guys, right? That I've removed from here. And what I did is in the search field, like when the search field gets triggered, when does it get triggered? When we change something in the lightning input field, right? That's when our search field method gets called. So what am I doing in the search field? When I get some value, I'm checking that if it's not equal to blank, then I'm making the display list back to true. So that's why, let's say I select this one. Now I remove it. Now because it's blank, it won't show the list. But because if I type again, so that's when the display list was made as true. So this is the entire code. This is the controller that we have used. Let me first go to the code of the controller. This is that method which will return the records. This is the wrapper class with two property and one constructor. All that constructor does is pass the parameters to the properties. Coming back to my component, using that class, declaring some attributes, label, select record name, select record ID, display list, search records, and creating a init handler. Next is the input, lightning input field. Then we have aura if, whether to display that list of records as the drop down or not. Within that, I have a div with this styling. Within that, I have a UL tag with this styling. Within that, I have iteration. All the records are stored in this variable. Each record will be iterated through, and that particular record of that iteration will be stored in this variable. Within that, I have declared a div in which ID would be the ID of the current record and data name would be the name of the current record. And on clicking that particular record, I'm opening set selected record method. And the input field, whenever I change the input, I type something, on change will get fired and it will call the search field method. And here I'm displaying the names of the account that are selected. Now going to the controller, or first let me again show you the entire code. Let me try minimizing it. Okay, so this is the entire code. Let's go to the controller now. This is the init where we are just making the display list to true. This is search field, which is getting fired whenever you are changing any input. We are getting the value of that lightning input field here. And we are passing that value and the other two, the object name and the field name, to our controller. We are getting the list of records and storing it in the search records here. So that's about it. And the final method is set selected record. That is when we click on particular record, that's when we get the current target.id, which is this, current target.dataset.name, which is this, and then select record name. Here we have in that lightning input field, when we select something, that should get stored in the select record name. Its value we are storing over here. Select record ID, that is we are getting the ID like I explained you here. and whether we want to display the list. So once you select a record, that's when you want the list to get disappeared. So that's why we are saying display list as false. So this is the entire code. You can scan through it again. So I hope this video helped, and if it did, then please like and share and subscribe. Thank you.